So here we are going to understand finally block, very important block to understand. So we already have seen that we can have a try block which will actually handle the exception, but I will just try to push in s out 1 divided by 0, and then we can have a catch block where I'm just putting up a generalized block for the simplicity right now. E dot print stack trace, and then we'll have system.out.println program ends. And when we'll try to run this, we will have the error which is going to get occurred, exceptions will be handled, and the program will end successfully, printing up that I'm finishing up my program gracefully. The question that can occur over here is what is a finally block and why do we want to use it? So let's first of all try to understand the finally block. So finally is a block which comes normally after the catch block. It's an optional block. If you have a try block, you must have a catch block, but not necessarily you need to have a finally block. Finally is a block which comes as an optional block along with the try and catch block, where by the hierarchies you have try, catch, catch, multiple catches ideally, and then you can have the finally block. Finally is a block which will always get executed, right? So I'd put it like super special block. I am getting executed in all situations. What I mean by all situations, whether exception occur, not occur, whether exception handle, not handle, what it may be, final block will always get executed. And when we'll try to run this, if we'll see over here, we can have an outcome of a finally block, right, which is getting executed. Now let's try to understand what is going to happen over here. So when this statement is getting executed, it will print 1 onto the screen. There is no exception, so your catch block is not going to get executed, but finally is a block which will always get executed. And when we'll try to run this program, you will see that our program is going to have the answer 1, then finally block, and then your program ends, which means that even though the exception is not occurred, finally block was executed. It is also possible that you can have only try and finally, which you normally don't do, but compiler will not tell you that you need to have catch always present. You can always have a program where you write down the try and finally, that's all. Second thing is, where will you use a finally block? As we know that finally block is a block which will get executed irrespective of all situations, whether exception occurred, not occurred. We need to have that exceptions to be we need to have that block to be executed. So there are situations where you want to do certain operations like closing up the file, closing up the network connections, which you must do, closing up a database connection, which you must do. Those are the situations where you will be writing down the finally block, and those operations you will be considering of the doing up into the finally block. So just to print out something like, first, one of the most important example is closing of the DB connections, database connections, and second is closing of the file operations. Basically, whenever you want to handle the closing operations of the resources, whether it is a file or connections or what it may be, then you'll be considering of writing down the finally block with the try and catch block, and that's what is final block all about.